Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. And as promised in the daily financial news this morning, we have the one and only and amazing Anna Kelly. Hi, Anna.
Hi, so good to be here with you today, Michael. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Shout out to you and I are Facebook friends, as probably most would expect. And you're down 18 pounds. Woohoo, doing the work.
I am. Hard work when you're pushing 50,
Yeah.
but it's worth it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing I've known about you for years is you tackle big, massive goals. We don't always succeed, but we always keep moving forward. And
Yeah.
it was really your celebration combined with, I'm actually going to bring up his post. A young man in my orbit, right? In my orbit, started doing real estate investing the last couple of years. He's in his early 20s. And he put out a pretty nice post basically saying it's hard, but worth it, right? You got the pain of regret or the pain of sacrifice. So I cut and paste it, put it into a Word doc. I'm actually going to try to interview him personally on Sunday. But before I bring it up, just remind people to not compare their first year to your and I's 20th year. It's not fair.
Absolutely. It's like anything, you have to learn to crawl before you can learn to walk, before you can learn to run, before you can learn to run a marathon, right? So if a toddler is going to try to run a marathon, it's not going to happen. You've got to build on what what you're working on. And it takes a lot of time to not only get confidence that you can do it and to learn, but really to create wisdom that only comes through experience, so we can learn a lot. And if you don't put the action in and put the work in every day, of course, you're not going to do well. And hopefully someone in their year 20 is going to inspire you to keep going in what's possible, but don't get down on yourself or deflated because you're not there yet, because it's going to take you a lot of time.
Anna, did it take you more than 5 years to really get momentum started?
Yes.
Me too. I mean, that's why it's on my rules. It's hard and it's slower than everyone wants.
Yes.
Yeah. So let me just bring that up.
It depends on what, there's a lot of things outside of your control in terms of what is the economy giving you at that time? And is the economy giving you the things that are going to make it super easy, like it might look for some, or is it going to give you some things that are kind of, headwinds that are going to make it a little tougher? But no matter when you get started, it's always hard in the beginning. You just have to keep going.
Yeah. And really what I want to do here is really focus on Kate. And again, Kate, I've reached out to you. Hopefully we can do a interview about this post Sunday. But really, again, this gentleman is his early 20s. He's being vulnerable, right? Which is not easy for lots of us to do right in the beginning. And he's basically saying, as he was building his business, he held numerous second jobs and he felt embarrassed. I mean, just wow, right? And it is absolutely the wrong mindset. I won't go through all of it because I think we're going to talk on Sunday. But again, you have a want, you have a need, you have a desire. You're trying to build something from scratch and you're embarrassed to get a second job. No, I want to shake your hand because you're doing things that others won't do. That's the key to this, and keep moving forward.
Absolutely. And if you have the mindset that failure is success, right? Failure is something that you have to do in order to learn, in order to be successful, then, even if you're struggling or you feel like you're behind where somebody else is, you should celebrate the movement as a win and not be embarrassed that you're not there yet. I'd be more embarrassed that I'm not giving any effort or that I'm giving up because I don't think I'm good enough, right? So my goal is really to be a little bit better every day than I was the day before. It's not to be, $1 billion assets under management or 10,000 units, right? I want to be better than I was before and grow as a person in every area of my life and keep going until I reach those goals, however long it takes.
Yeah. One of the things I love about the analogy used earlier about a baby running a marathon, right? Crawl, walk, run, is actually, do you know what the key is between crawling and walking?
Getting up.
Learning to fall down.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right? Because again, no baby goes right from crawling to walking without first learning how to fall.
Yes.
And then they get up and try again.
So true.
So again, everybody needs to realize, I mean, I'll be vulnerable for a minute. I actually wrote about this in my first book. Olivia and I spent a year, I now call it a wasted year, trying to buy a rental where we live. Why? Because everybody I followed 21 years ago said, buy in your backyard. They happened to not know that I lived in the most expensive part of the country. The book said, buy in your backyard. I did not know any different. I wasted a year of this journey. Mm-hmm. 2, we finally find a market that's 2.5 hours away where we know no one. But the numbers worked. Olivia gave me an ultimatum, basically saying, buy it or we're never coming back. Good for her, right? Cause action because the numbers work. We buy it. We do everything right. We move a tenant in. And then we suffer. My first tenants, who we did everything right, credit check, income, this, that, other, they ended up separating 2 weeks into our rental. Mm-hmm. Wife took off, never to be seen from again. We could never find her for papers. And the husband decides to become an alcoholic. This would have crushed most people. And I will admit right here, right now, it crushed me. I was ready to give up. I wasted a year. We took half, right? My story begins with taking $7,000 to 200, losing it into 40. I took half that 40 grand, put it in this house. I was ready to lose it all because I was already broken and beaten.
Right.
3 months. I live in California. It takes forever to get deadbeats out. And this was before the pandemic, right? This was in 2002. I spent $1,000 with an attorney. And then we walk in and my heart hit the floor. $15,000 later, after this guy damaged our property because he was a mad drunk. Olivia says, did we do anything wrong? Like, nope. She says, let's try it again. And Anna, all she had to do was pause. And I'd been like, yep, we're selling it. Because I was already defeated. And Olivia had a clearer head and was more balanced and said, no, keep going. And obviously that was a fork in the road, which I was ready to give up on. And Olivia, full credit, says, keep moving forward. It's supposed to be hard. And she was right.
So good. So good. And, two things came to my mind, just kind of a similar story and an analogy. Our first flip that we ever did, we made a lot of mistakes. I didn't know about private lending. I got a traditional mortgage, lots of closing costs to buy a house and hired contractors that we really didn't know were licensed or anything. And the house sat for a year and we basically lost $10,000 on our first flip. We had a 3-month-old baby when we started and my husband lost his job in the middle of it. Mortgages, school loan, car payment, new baby, medical bills on a preemie. And, I was like, okay, we learned, we could do this again and learn from it. My husband was like, no, we're never doing that again.
That hurt. That's the hot stove, Anna. Don't touch the hot stove.
And so we didn't for a while, right? But I still had this itch that, hey, I didn't do well on it, but I have every confidence that I can learn from it and keep going. And some of those things, we have different personalities. And even from the time you're a child, I was thinking back as you were talking on my own first 2 kids. My first one is a male, and he was up and walking at almost just over 7 months old, like so fast. He did everything fast, and he fell and he cried and he pulled himself right back up and he kept trying it and pulling himself up. My next one came along and I was worried about her. She didn't walk till almost 15 months. But what's interesting is she tried early and she fell and hit her head on the coffee table. And from then on, she wouldn't even put her feet on the ground. So I'd try to hold her up and she'd pull up her feet because she knew she was going to fall. And just innately, one of them's like, I'm going to keep going and keep getting this because they want to move. And the other one's like, I'm too afraid. Yeah. So she didn't go anywhere. She didn't explore and see all the beautiful things she could have done if she walked. Their personalities are so much different. But I see that in adults all the time. They get started in real estate. Some people are like, it's hard, and then they give up. And to those I say, choose your hard. Choose your hard. Life is hard. Work is hard. A job is hard. Real estate is hard. But what's the hard that's going to give me the most reward and allow me to walk into something that could really change my life, right? If you're a go-getter, you don't have to be told to get back up. You're just going to kind of do it. But get back up even when those lessons are expensive, and don't give up on yourself. Continue to go. Don't be embarrassed about the failure. Be embarrassed if you don't try again.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest message that I'm going to give to Cade, and hopefully Cade watches this. Hopefully we hook up Sunday. Is I want to shake his hand, right? Getting a second job and still doing all the right things. 'Cause again, he was in my orbit, so he was networking. He was working with the best investor in Fresno who I have on Sunday, the best flippers in Fresno. He was around the right people, and yet he could have very easily given up. Right? They're more successful. They figured it out. It's not for me. Right? His bills were stacking up. No, the young man said, no, I'm going to go work as a server in the evenings, put a little jingle in my pocket so I can pay the bills and I can keep going. It's hard for everyone.
Right.
I just wish people would realize, and it's hard for everyone, Anna, and it's so worth it once it clicks.
Oh, for sure. And that's why, before you even really get started, you have to ask yourself. Somebody said this to me, and I don't remember who, but it really was eye-opening about something. And they said, you're either interested or you're committed. And there's a
Yes.
big difference, right? If you're interested in real estate and you're kind of interested in dabbling and getting a little side hustle, then when it goes wrong, you're going to quit. You have to be committed that I know the kind of life that real estate can create for me. I know it creates more millionaires and more wealth than anything else that I can do. I want this for a certain reason. And then you commit that you're going to do what it takes for as long as it takes until you succeed at it. And that's going to take a lot of trial and error. But most people that get started, the minute something's harmed, they're no longer interested because they were never really committed in the first place.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Anna, you put out a lot of amazing stuff. How can people follow you?
Great. You can find me on social media at Anna Kelly REI Mom. You can follow me at my website at reimom.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.